Candace, to me, the president has more courage than most people in calling out this ongoing decline of some of these great cities. I love Baltimore. I mean, I spent so much time there over the years, but it's tough. It's a really, really tough place, and the residents speak volumes. Sharpton comes in today and says, I'm here to defend, and I'm here to stand with the people of Baltimore. What of that?
Well, Al Sharpton is first and foremost a fraud. He's a liar, and he's a race hustler. So in order for Al Sharpton to stay in business, he has to keep selling this narrative that racism exists. And that's just what the NAACP is. That is how they secure their bottom line. If Al Sharpton really cared about the advancement of black Americans, he would be saying that what the president said is correct. It's factual. This is not something that needs to be whether you're left or right. Common sense, talk to the people and the residents that live in Baltimore. They would tell you what they are living with. This is exactly why I have created the Brexit movement, because we are not being served by the politicians in any of the major cities that Democrats are running. And the kids are the ones that are suffering first and foremost. 2017 report. 13 high schools in Baltimore couldn't find a single black child that was proficient in reading and math. Why is Al Sharpton standing against the president on this?
Monique, I talked to Catherine Pugh, the former mayor of Baltimore, when she was still the mayor. I guess it was last year, and I asked her about what's going on in the schools here. And she almost kind of denied that there was even a problem with the budget or what was happening. And it was all kind of obfuscation. I tried to get her to focus on it, but she didn't really want to engage on it. So, as I said earlier, whatever you think of President Trump, this is beyond a crisis in American cities. Talk about the crisis at the border. We got a crisis 45 minutes from here. Your thoughts tonight?
We're in 2.5 years of this president's administration, and there were promises made to people of color, right? There were promises made to African Americans. What do we have to lose? Well, apparently, since there's been this ongoing crisis in Baltimore that the president just recognized yesterday, we've been losing time. What I think, first, is that he was factually incorrect. Baltimore is not the most dangerous, crime-ridden city in the United States. So that means he's incorrect.
Okay, so give him a medal for that.
What I think, second, is it's not all of Representative Cummings' district, right? It's half of Baltimore that is part of a much larger district, which happens to be above median income of all of the cities in the United States.
Baltimore as a whole is not above median income. It's $7,000 less.
Baltimore, his district. Remember, the president was tweeting about his district.
Okay, so you're satisfied with the situation.
It's not about being satisfied. It's about
you're splitting hairs about the district.
It's about being accurate. Third, here's the third thing. Hire people with education. More educated people coming out of that district.
So are you okay?
Than the rest.
I just want to understand. For 16 years of Democrat, hold on, Candace. 16 years. We had 8 years of the first African American president.
Yes.
We had 8 years of Bill Clinton, who they called the first African American president. We have Trump in there for 2 years. We are the envy of the world in the economy. Yes. He's looking at these inner cities. I think he's impatient, maybe as much as you are, for change there. And maybe you don't like the way he says it, but I'm telling you, he's telling African Americans, guess what? Stick with us. We got to turn this thing around because it's unfair. And I think he cares about it. I really do.
And at least he tells the truth. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry because I'm talking back at you. But I think, Candace, look, the tweets bother people. The way you say it bothers people, and I'm going to say that some people take it to heart. Okay, they think, look, he's criticizing Elijah Cummings. He's an African American congressman. He's respected in many circles. Could you send a different type of tweet? Could you send a different type of message? Is that part of the problem here?
No, it's not. Because we've seen people do that in the past. We've seen Republicans kowtow to the Democrats. Every time that they turn around and they say somebody's a racist, they cower. It needs to be Trump. It needs to be said. It bothers me deeply. I spoke to you in the green room. You're nice. You're intelligent. Do not defend Baltimore as a city. Don't do that to black America. Don't pretend that being in third place in terms of being in all of the cities somehow makes Trump a liar. They are leading in homicides. They are leading in rape. They are leading in sexual assault. Black Americans are suffering in this city. Because you don't like Trump, you're going to split hairs and pretend this is somehow okay because they're ranked third. We deserve better than that as a community. We deserve Trump. We deserve someone who has the courage to say to black America, you have nothing to lose because you're already losing. And it's true. You know we're losing. This is not left or right, Democrat or Republican. This is about black Americans getting off of our feet and admitting that something is really wrong.
Okay, right. So it's not because I don't like Trump. It's because I'm not untethered to the facts like he is, and apparently like those who don't mind defending him even when he's wrong. It's really not that hard to say that someone is wrong. When you say that no one would want to live in an entire city,
That's a
and it's
rhetorical device,
wrong,
obviously.
and it's
I wouldn't have worded it that way.
insulting,
Yeah.
and it's not factual. I have family from Baltimore, so I actually care about what happens to the people there. And then when you say, here are all the things that are wrong, but don't talk about our country, because if you talk about our country, then you need to go back somewhere. But I'm going to talk about what's wrong, and I'm not even going to introduce some way to help. What you don't do is criticize people who actually are getting up every day and working on it, and not introduce a way to get it fixed.
The last two mayors had to step down from fraud.
I'm sorry. I'm
real
still
quick.
mid-sentence. I didn't mind him criticizing Representative Cummings because he's a grown man. He's a powerful man. He can handle himself. What I minded was insulting all of the people who live in Baltimore.
He didn't insult them. He told them the truth.
People by saying that it's not a place.
Well, how many? I think there are a lot of. I think there are a lot of
people actually want to hear.
I think there are a lot of white liberals and Republicans
who live in Baltimore.
Yeah,
but that are insulted.
Who are not insulted.
Because you know why? Because
what I was going to say.
Who live in Baltimore? Yes, there are. Who work at Johns Hopkins and at Kennedy Krieger and live in Ellicott City and love the harbor.
What I was going to say, guys, is that I think there are a lot of liberals and conservatives who would not want to live in Baltimore, in the places where these folks are living.
Guilty
and
as charged.
That's the truth. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like saying that.
Talk to Republican Governor Hogan about that.
Well,
we talked to the president about that. Because the president is more powerful than anyone representative.
And I think for what maybe could happen out of this is if Cummings and these guys put aside 2020 for 5 minutes and sat and said, you know, what worked in New York? When you turn New York around, what worked and what didn't work? Let's look at it.
Republican
leadership. Just look at it. Put it on a piece of paper.
Democrat
say,
leadership
this
never works.
But I'm just saying, there's some policies work, some policies don't. And take it away from
I wouldn't
politics.
even be able to vote if that was the case.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you could actually.
I'm happy with that conclusion.
I think you could actually come up with 5 things that worked and 5 things that didn't. Take Republican, Democrat off the sheet.
I agree.
think that could actually happen. It's really hard when you cry racism. It shuts the conversation down.
And it's even harder when there is racism.
And there isn't any.
That shuts lives down.
So fortunately, we have a president that isn't racist and is not afraid to stand up when people baselessly call him racist. And he's willing to point out all of the flaws that are happening right now. And unfortunately, Democrat leadership in inner cities is destroying Black America.
All right, guys, we got